When you think of the all-time great sluggers, you probably picture Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, maybe Ken Griffey Jr. But before these legends were household names, there was Barry Bonds. He broke baseball's most sacred record. He became the most feared hitter alive, yet he's also the game's most controversial superstar, a player whose skills both transcended and tarnished the sport he dominated. But the truth behind Barry Bonds is far more complicated than the headlines suggest. And in this video, we're gonna break it all down from his childhood roots to the shadow of suspicion that followed him throughout his entire career. Barry Lamar Bonds was born on July 24, 1964 in Riverside, California. Now, if you know anything about baseball history, you've probably heard of his dad, Bobby Bonds. So Barry was born into baseball royalty. And if that wasn't enough, his godfather was none other than Willie Mays. As you can imagine, being the son of a famous baseball player meant that Barry had big shoes to fill. Pressure is what made the perfect player. But sometimes it can be too much. Growing up around the sport, Barry's entire life revolved around the ballpark. But instead of living in the shadow of his father, Barry used it as fuel. Later on, he would say that he had a chip on his shoulder because people expected him to live up to his dad's legendary status. But off the field, Barry was just your average kid, playing video games, going to parties, and hanging out with friends. He loved basketball and played guard, drawing comparisons to Michael Jordan, hitting the game-winning shot in the city championship. Barry was also blessed with natural athleticism. Combine his father's guidance with raw talent, and you have the makings of a future star. He didn't just inherit his father's work ethic and skills, but also his love for the game. By the time Barry was 12, he was already making a name for himself in the youth leagues. But while he may have been destined for greatness, he also had a lot to prove. In 1981, Barry was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates and signed a multi-million-dollar contract, the largest ever for a rookie at the time. It looked like the Pirates had landed the next big thing in baseball. But then Barry surprised everyone by choosing not to go to college. Instead, he went straight to the minors. Although he finished his minor league season strong, Barry's major league debut in 1986 was rough. He struggled at the plate and struck out a lot. But as the season progressed, Barry started to find his rhythm. In 1987, he hit 30 homers and stole 30 bases, becoming the youngest player in history to achieve that feat. He was only 23. The media dubbed him a 30-30 superstar. But Barry wasn't done yet. In 1988, he became the first player to hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases. Not only was he dominating offensively, but he was also known for his spectacular defense. In fact, he won his first Gold Glove for center field in 1988, and he would go on to win 8 more. With his combination of power, speed, and defense, Barry was a force to be reckoned with. By the early 1990s, Barry Bonds was a household name. He won MVP awards in 1990 and 1992 and became one of the highest-paid players in the league. In 1993, he decided to leave the Pirates and sign with the San Francisco Giants for 6 years and $43.7 million, which was a record amount at the time. His first few years with the Giants were pure dominance. He continued to smash home runs and steal bases, breaking all sorts of records along the way. In 1993, he won his 3rd MVP award and became the most famous player in the game. But if you ask any player, manager, or coach about Barry Bonds, they'll tell you that he had a bit of a crack. Even though Barry led the Giants to the playoffs 4 times, they couldn't seem to get past the first round. Plus, Barry's personality wasn't exactly easy to deal with, known for being moody and clashing with teammates. Barry would later admit that he wasn't always the best teammate, but that was just because of the way he was feeling inside. In the late 1990s, Barry Bonds began to feel the weight of expectation and the pressure to perform. Despite all his accomplishments, he was still overshadowed by his father. In fact, Barry Bonds never got to play in the World Series, and that was something that bothered him a lot. For Barry, hitting home runs wasn't just a game. It was personal. He wanted to be the greatest hitter of all time. And that meant breaking Babe Ruth's record of 714 home runs. But as the years went by, Barry started to lose his power. So when the new century rolled around, everyone thought that Barry's career was over. But they couldn't have been more wrong. After struggling through the first 2 months of the 2000 season, Barry transformed his training routine. He lifted weights and changed his diet. And then came the most shocking change of all. He hired Greg Anderson as his trainer. Now, Anderson wasn't your typical trainer. He was known for working with athletes to help them bulk up quickly, and that's exactly what Barry did. He gained almost 30 pounds in the following year, looking bigger and stronger than ever before. Everyone was talking about it, wondering how he had managed to transform his body so quickly. Some whispered that he might be taking steroids, but no one could be sure. After all, Barry had always been dedicated to his training. Maybe this time he was just doing things right. But those whispers turned into shouts when Barry started putting up insane numbers in 2001. He hit 73 home runs, broke the single-season record for RBIs, set a new record for walks, and finished the season with an unbelievable 1.400 OPS. It was as if Barry had become a different hitter overnight, and the media couldn't get enough of it. They praised him for his dedication, his hard work, his achievements. But they also questioned him about his transformation. How had he gotten so big, so strong? Barry remained tight-lipped, but the questions didn't stop. In 2003, Barry Bonds was named in the Balco scandal, which involved a group of athletes who were using performance-enhancing drugs. One of the athletes was Barry's trainer, Greg Anderson, who refused to testify against him. Now, Barry's explanation was that he didn't know what was in the cream and the clear that he was using. But the damage was already done. The media was now convinced that Barry was on steroids. And once the San Francisco Chronicle published a story about Barry's alleged drug use, things took a turn for the worse. Fans turned on him. The once beloved superstar became a villain. The media painted him as a cheater, a liar, a disgrace to the sport. And as the years went by, Barry's moodiness became a bigger problem. In 2005, Barry Bonds hit his 600th home run, but the celebrations were muted. People were too busy debating whether it was a tainted achievement. 2 years later, he broke Hank Aaron's home run record, hitting his 715th homer. But the moment felt hollow. Fans were divided, some booing, others cheering. It was as if the country was split in half over Barry Bonds, and that's how it stayed. Despite having put up some of the most insane numbers in history and winning 7 more MVP awards after 2000, Barry Bonds never played again after 2007. He retired with 762 home runs, which was a record at the time, and even though he was eligible for the Hall of Fame in 2013, he was shut out in his first year of eligibility and every year since then. Today, Barry Bonds is considered one of the greatest hitters of all time. Statistically, he's at the top of the leaderboards for OPS, walks, and home runs, but he's also forever linked with baseball's steroid era, which tainted his legacy. So let me ask you, should Barry Bonds be in the Hall of Fame? Or should his name forever carry an asterisk? Because while Barry Bonds was undoubtedly the greatest hitter ever, he also symbolized an era where many did the same. And that's why this story is so important, because it teaches us that greatness and controversy often walk hand in hand. And that's all I got. Thanks for watching.